Welcome to Season 8 of the award-winning Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor, and each week I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and brands to dispel the myths, share their knowledge and give you an insight into the retail industry. You can listen back to previous seasons on your favourite podcast platform, and while you're there, please do hit that follow button so that you get to listen to it first every week. You can watch us, of course, over on YouTube and subscribe to the Retail Advisor because you've no idea how useful that is to ensure that I can keep bringing you the content that you love. And remember, sharing is caring in the retail industry. Please do share episodes across any of the platforms with your network. And if you're on social media, tag me, Melissa Moore, and the Retail Tea Break podcast. So, in the meantime, grab that cup of tea, sit back and listen in to Season 8 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. Today I'm joined by two sisters who run a family-owned boutique destination store in the west of Ireland. The business was established by their grandparents in 1946 and has undergone many changes over 3 generations. Nowadays, the business serves both international and local customers while reaching a global audience through its online platform. Today's guests describe their strengths as being like chalk and cheese, which makes them the perfect duo. They're always striving to advance their business and continue growing in an ever-changing and competitive environment. The business, they say, has experienced its fair share of ups and downs over its nearly 80-year history and has had to adapt to many economic changes to remain competitive and relevant. Their hope is that one day they're able to pass the business on to the next generation. Clíona and Laragh Standún, welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Thank you, Melissa, and for that lovely introduction. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So look, as you both know, and I'm sure some of the audience will, huge fan of the brand, of the stores, keen shopper there, as I have been over the last few years as well. So I'm delighted to have you on. But look, to kick us off then, I suppose in the age-old tradition of the Retail Tea Break podcast, in the time that it takes to boil a kettle, which I am told is about 2 minutes, tell us a little bit more about the business and I suppose your specific roles in it. Clíona, let's start with you.
You set me up for a challenge there because it's got a long history, so it's difficult to narrow it down. But my grandparents started the business in 1946. It was a 2-bedroom bungalow at the time selling groceries, and they grew the business over the years. And in 1973, my dad took over. And he decided that he wanted to move away from the grocery business and focus more on tourism, which had started to increase in Connemara at that time. And he focused on the Aran sweater and he built up a tourist business. And then in 2010, he decided to retire and Lara and I took over. And we felt that there was a decline in tourism at the time, and we started to change direction and focus on both the tourist business and the local trade as well. So I suppose that's where we are today. We opened a second shop in 2017 in Uachtarard, which is also in Connemara, and that's been going from strength to strength over the past few years.
Stunning. And they are in the most amazing locations. Anyone listening or watching that's never been to this part of the West of Ireland, like you couldn't have a more picturesque location for both. They're in very different types of locations, but absolutely beautiful stores in absolutely gorgeous surroundings. So I think for me, they really are the epitome of destination stores, which is gorgeous. Lara, tell us a little bit about, I suppose, the two of your backgrounds are very different. And I suppose what you bring to the business is very different.
Yeah, well, I suppose Clíona and I are very different. Our strengths are very different. I suppose I would probably look after the customer experience from the minute they see the shop to walking in the door and the experience while they're in there until they leave. And then like Clíona, I say she has the strategic mind, so she looks after that side of the business, and it's great. We feel we can work really well together, have such different skills, and yeah, it just works really well as a team.
And that's lovely because, again, you're such a family orientated business from the very beginning, where your grandparents started this business, as you say, in 1946, right the way up to where the two of you are now. You have this history. Family is very much at the forefront of the business. And Laura, in that respect, then, what does it mean to you to ensure that you keep this business going? I know, as you said, during the, down the years, you've gone from grocery towards tourism. You've come away slightly from the tourism to ensure that the local customer now views it as a destination, sure, that they can come into even in the winter months when the tourism isn't around, which was brilliant, by the way, to have done that. But why is it so important then to you, Laura, to ensure that this next generation can pick up the baton, that there is still a really thriving business there for you to pass on?
Well, I suppose the Standún brand is inseparable to the story of our family and family history, I suppose. Standún is part of our DNA. Clíona and I grew up immersed in the business, and our passion for it runs really deep. And we're really, really passionate about moving the business forward and giving the next generation, please God, the opportunity to continue that legacy. We've been so lucky to inherit that legacy, but there's also a lot of responsibility with that, but we really are conscious that we want to not just, sustain what we have. We want to grow it, we want to strengthen it and pass on something even better to the future generation, and something very meaningful that they will be really proud to continue.
I suppose we grew up spending time after school in the business and helping out where we could, and we see that the next generation are doing the same. They're spending a lot of time there already, so you could see that they may have an interest in the future, but whether I suppose the environment will allow for that, whether there's a place still in Ireland for independent businesses, only time will tell. But we feel we're just carrying the torch for the next generation, and I suppose we would like to leave the business in, like Lara said, in the strongest possible form, so that it makes it easier for them to take over in the future.
Absolutely. And I agree with you there. You two have done so much even over the last few years since you've taken over. But I'm sure by knowing the two of you, there's so much more to come. But kind of picking up on something that you said, Cleaner, there, the growth of the business has been unbelievable. Nearly 80 years now in existence. But I'm sure, as I said in my introduction, it hasn't all been easy. It can't be. What are the challenges, I suppose? And again, not to be negative, but I know you grow from the challenges that oppose to the business. What are the challenges facing the business right now?
Yeah, we faced so many different challenges over it seems like a short amount of time that we've been running the business, but maybe it's not actually that short. I suppose we're running it about this our 15th year.
Wow.
We have faced a lot of challenges. When we took over, it was a really difficult. I suppose there was austerity in Ireland. It was a really difficult time, and someone told me at the time that it was a really good time to take over because it could only go up, which was true, I guess. But then we had COVID a few years ago, which was really, really difficult. But
Brexit, I suppose, it's a challenge in between.
Yeah, lots of different political issues that have affected us. But I suppose what I find worrying is the costs of doing business have just risen so much since we took over. We just see it every year in our accounts, the cost of labor costs, energy costs, packaging, transport, everything is just increasing, and it's really making it very challenging to run the business. And I suppose my worry is that it will just become too difficult in a number of years, and that there won't be a place for independent businesses in Ireland anymore, and that will become like English high streets where it's lots of chains. And I think that would be such a shame for Ireland, because there's something really exciting about visiting a small town, and that there's lots of little businesses where people are doing something really creative and something different, and that it's not like walking into a shop that could be absolutely anywhere in Europe. So that is a worry for us. We're doing our best and we try to control the controllables. So we do get frustrated, but then we just try and pick ourselves up and like battle on. And we're very lucky. We have really loyal customers, and I suppose we're also lucky that we have a strong brand that's recognizable, I suppose. So that's really helped. But yeah, it's like it's not easy at all, but there's something in both of us that makes us keep going anyway.
I love that.
I suppose, as you mentioned, a lot of the challenges we've grown from them as well. But I do think now more than ever, it's just has been quite the cost of doing business is just at an all-time high. I think a lot of independent or small medium businesses would agree with that throughout the country.
Absolutely, because it isn't about you being small, because you certainly aren't. And it isn't about, I think, you being in a part of rural Ireland, because again, we're seeing this everywhere right now. I was even in London last week, and you can't get any bigger than that. And again, independents are struggling with the cost of, as you said, opening the doors, having high labor costs. But again, for a business like yours, your people driven, the customer comes in, they have this incredible experience. None of that is cheap to be able to deliver. The store always looks incredible. You're constantly innovating and updating, so it is this perfect retail experience. But of course, none of that is easy to do, or is cost effective in some respects, because you have to keep the spend to keep people coming through the doors. But I like you, and I see it and I fear it. But I think, again, the fire in your belly for retail makes me kind of firmly believe that, because you've been through so much as a business already, that there's always going to be a hunger and a push to kind of battle on, especially in the locations that you're in. We saw you did it with COVID, which decimated the country from a tourist perspective. I don't need to remind you of that, but again, you had this incredible local or even Irish kind of customer base that saw you through, because what you were delivering was this incredible experience, this gorgeous range. And it's certainly something I want to talk about. But actually, on that, then, this idea of loyalty, because you're known for it, you're known for delivering incredible customer experience, customer retention. It's obviously been a huge driver generally when it comes to retail over the last few years. But Lara, it just seems like second nature. You walk through the doors, there's always a warm welcome, there's always a smile. That's not normal right now across an awful lot of retail, but it's certainly something that Standún seems to do really well.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad to hear that, because it really is our priority. Looking after customers isn't just a strategy for us. It's, who we are and who we have been for nearly 80 years now. It's really important for us that the customer has a really good experience in store and beyond. We're absolutely fortunate to have an incredible team in across both of our stores that, they look after the stores, make sure they run smoothly, but also they really look after the customers and ensure that every customer leaves happy. You feel genuine care when you visit Standing, and it's a lovely for me, it's just a lovely place to work, because you get such lovely feedback based on the customer service that people have received. And, that's so heartwarming for us. For us, adding value isn't just, prices lowering or chasing low prices. It's about adding value by offering the best service we can. And we just have such a genuine team that care and are welcoming and just want to look after our customers, and we're so proud of that.
And that's lovely then, because I think for me, coming in, and again from a shopper perspective, they're able to tell you about the product, they're able to tell you about the area, they're able to advise. Again, they seem to go above and beyond. And I think with that, then, I almost feel that about the areas, because again, both stores are destination stores in that respect. You're in the most beautiful part of Ireland when you kind of, I suppose, you visit them. The impact that must have had to the wider community, because I can't believe that yous being in both areas for so long now hasn't had an impact on the wider community, whether that's through employment, whether that's just being the tourist customer, if it's that coming to see you, or that local customer throughout the different times of year. How important is local community, Clíona, to you and, of course, to the business?
Well, I suppose we feel like we've relied on the local community for a long, long time, going back to the time when my grandparents, as people not from the area, moved here and were supported by local customers. And the business grew and they were able to give back by employing local people. And I suppose in my dad's time, I feel like he would have contributed a lot to the area by attracting tour buses, which would have, you know, had a knock-on effect on other businesses in the area. But I think, well, I suppose firstly, I just want to say that we are in Connemara and we are in a Gaeltacht area. And I feel very proud of that. It's a really unique place. It's one of the few places in Ireland where Irish is spoken on a daily basis. I don't know if people would notice this or not, but in Orist, most people speak Irish, and we would communicate with one another in Irish. We'd have a lot of meetings in Irish, which isn't something that would be common in Ireland. It's quite unique. But I suppose I'm very proud of that unique aspect of the Gaeltacht in Connemara. And then it's just such a beautiful place. We're so lucky that it attracts so many tourists every year. But I suppose where I really saw the community, the importance of community, was when COVID hit. And I said to Lara, like, what are we going to do now? About 60% of our business is tourist business and flights aren't coming into Ireland. How are we going to survive? And we were, you know, genuinely scared. I was pregnant with my daughter and I got shingles from the absolute stress of the situation. But the community rallied around us and they really did their best to support us by shopping online, and we were inside and, you know, handing out bags, all masked and gloved up, handing out orders to customers. But people really did their best to support us, not just people in our village, but far and wide. And when we had small windows where the shops were open again, people really made an effort. They wanted to tell us that they were doing their best to support Irish businesses and Irish products. And that's where you really see like how important it is to contribute to your community and how much you get back from it as well.
There's an authenticity there, Lara, isn't there? There's something about you've always supported the community. They're coming together to support you. There's a real genuine feeling here of this is day to day though in Connemara. You know, I live on the other end, you know, of the almost border coming into it. And yes, I have to say, I certainly pick up on the language when I come in, and it's a joy to hear because, as you say, it's very rare nowadays. And I think it's very special as a non-Irish speaking person who has a huge respect for the language, who hasn't a clue as to what's being said. It's gorgeous to hear. And I think it makes you really special, Laura, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it does seem quite unique, and like for us, it's really special that, as Clíona mentioned, we'll have our meetings. They could be half in Irish, half in English. It might start in English and end in Irish. And we've customers coming in speaking Irish, and then we've, you know, international customers in, and they're kind of asking us about the language we're speaking, and it's nice to be able to explain to them and give them a couple of fuckle. And yeah, so it's really like, it is a really special thing. We have people that have shopped with us across generations, and then, like, you know, now we see them come back with their children and their grandchildren and sometimes their great grandchildren. It's just incredible. Like, it's just a really special thing for us to see that. And you know, Clíona and I obviously have been hanging around that business since we were quite young, and we're now, you know, 40 years later, we're 38, 40 years later, we're seeing people come back that we've seen for decades now at this stage. So
that's
incredible.
really special, I suppose, as you have grown through the business, your customer base has, and especially even of your parents' generation are still. And I often see them when I'm in store, shopping in store, and that's lovely that they've grown as you've grown with the business. And actually, on that, I think a key pull, we've spoken about this amazing kind of destination space that you're in, beautiful part of Ireland, beautiful part of Connemara, but of course, you've curated this gorgeous collection of product that not only speaks to the tourists when they're coming by, when they're only kind of in Ireland even for a week or two, but also a collection that speaks to the local or the Irish customer 24/7, you know, 365 days a year. It's not an easy job. I'm sure. And you have such an incredible product range. How has that process been for you, Lara? What's that buying been like over the few years as to, I suppose, bring this amazing collection that you have now to fruition?
Well, like buying has always been such an exciting part of the business of the job. It's, very creative. We absolutely love the buying side of things. But, it's really important for us to, we've always championed Irish design, and we continue to do that today. It's something we're very proud to do, but we also travel further afield, and we want to also have a range of either fashion clothing, fashion giftware, or homeware jewelry that's a little bit, that's quite different that, you mightn't see elsewhere in Ireland. So we do travel abroad to find beautiful ranges from around the world. But I suppose for us, it's about honoring our heritage, but while also having interesting ranges for our customers. So it's really important for us to have that mix. We feel like we have a really nice balance, and for us, long lasting and timeless designs has always been a priority. We just want to stock things that are built to last, so that's an important value for us.
And you know what? To me, quality pieces is definitely a key thing that you've said there, Laura. Because again, it doesn't matter whether it's fashion or it's homewares or the jewelry pieces, which I certainly know I've bought from the store. They are quality pieces. These things are built to last. And it always reminds me, certainly with one certain gift, which I can name because he has it. I bought a watch from the store there a few years ago as a present for my husband. That's going to last, much like the brand has for you, much like it's gone down the generations. Buying anything from the store because they're quality pieces that you've invested in, that you've found and created this collection. I do feel it's almost like the store giving back then as well, because you have to, I suppose, believe that a lot of the pieces, whether it's a baby gift, whether it's a piece of jewelry, whether it's even a bit of fashion, will last. They are built to last. They'll be passed on intergenerationally again, which is absolutely gorgeous. But I suppose you have these two stunning, and I know I keep saying it because they're stunning stores, Clíona, in the west of Ireland. But you have this website that Lara kind of alluded to there. And I know that's partially your background is helped build that, but you have this website that's going 24/7. It's obviously kind of throwing up these orders to add to the mix of physical visitors coming into your stores. How's that website doing for you at this stage?
Yeah, we've been growing the website over the last few years, and we're growing it at about 30% every year. It's a lot easier to grow the website than the physical stores because I suppose it's a much bigger market out there. And it's not easy. Like, I feel like online isn't the answer to everyone's problem because it brings its own set of challenges, but it's definitely helped over the last few years, to grow the business. And our plan is to continue to grow every year at about 30% every year. That's kind of our goal.
I suppose
Yeah.
we're lucky as well with the online. There is such an, like, I suppose we see that there's such a global appreciation for Irish design. So in a way, it's a perfect time for us to, build on that momentum. So we sell a mix of products, as I mentioned, home, gift, fashion. Like a big thing for us is outerwear as well. And, often very practical pieces that you will wear like a lot. So we sell a lot of rain jackets, believe it or not, based in Galway. But yeah, we think our international customers, there's such an appreciation for Irish design. Again, going back to what I mentioned, timeless designs and things that are built to last. So that we've benefited from that as well, I believe.
And it's lovely because again, people listening to this now, if they can't jump in the car and come and visit you, if they're not flying into Ireland, the website is there. And again, I just think it's this perfect collection of beautiful Irish pieces that people can gift either themselves, we're very good at that, or to each other. But it's just lovely to have a snapshot of what you find in the stores online and so accessible to everyone. But look, final question, and I could definitely talk to the two of you all day, and no doubt will the next time I'm in store. But what's coming up over the next few months? I'm kind of aware we're coming into kind of high tourist season now. But as we said, they're not your only customer. So, ladies, I don't know who wants to go first, but what's kind of ahead for you now with the brand?
Well, for the first time since we took over, we've decided to upgrade our logo and launch new branding. So this year we're rolling that out. And our logo was one seahorse and now it's two, I guess, representing both of us. And I suppose our history, one is looking back and one is looking forward. So we would like to roll that out. That's a big enough job in itself, because we've lots and lots and lots of different packaging. So we have to upgrade all of our packaging and our signage and
the exterior of the store. There's a lot to do in that department.
That's one big plan this year.
And I suppose we're hoping to have a few more in-store events this year. Besides
I suppose our plan really this year is to try to grow sales and to keep our costs down. And I know it sounds very boring, but last year was a difficult year with the rising costs of everything. And I suppose, we need to kind of keep a tighter control on that this year, as well as like continue to grow sales. And it's not very exciting, but
but really honest. And I think it's really lovely that that's really honest of you to say. And that's the reality out there right now for so many retailers, even though they don't necessarily say it publicly, that actually they have to make money to keep the lights on physically. Costs are rising, as you've said so well there, Clíona. But also, I'm picking up on what you said there, Laura. I love the fact, especially in Spittle, it's a gorgeous big store. You've got your gorgeous cafe. It's made for events like the one you have. So it's lovely that, again, even though, you're finding things challenging, as so many retailers are right now, and they are at different times of the store's evolution, that you're always thinking of the customer. And I love the fact that it doesn't matter what's going on, it's customer first always. Very excited about the branding, because I suppose something we haven't mentioned, you have these stunning windows that I'm a huge fan of, that just always looked so perfect, but they're so different for anyone, whether they're driving by, whether you're coming for the first time. And I can't wait now to see the new branding go up over the next while.
No, we're very excited about it. I suppose, like, to recap on what Clíona said, nurturing and growing what we have, there's a lot of potential. Being honest, we do keep an eye out for new opportunities. We sometimes explore options for a new location, and we have actually come close in the last few years. But between like timing and circumstances, things didn't align. There's a lot of opportunity, we mentioned online, a lot of opportunity to grow what we already have. So that's again, like, it doesn't sound too exciting, but it's going to be our focus, I think, for the next few months.
And do you know what? I think the customer's so lucky. So I suppose, to recap then, anyone that's never been to the stores, why not? You can obviously find Standún online. But of course, the two beautiful stores here in Connemara, one in Uachtarán, one in Spittle, definitely worth a visit. I'm very excited to see what comes next. But look, if you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, please do like and share it from any of the podcast platforms with your network. And of course, across social media, tag me, Melissa Moore, and the Retail Tea Break podcast. Listen back to previous seasons on your favourite podcast platform. And while you're there, please hit that follow button so that you get to listen first every week. You can, of course, watch us over on YouTube and subscribe to the Retail Advisor. You've no idea how useful this is to ensure that I can keep bringing you the same incredible content that you love. So connect with myself and the two ladies on LinkedIn. I'll obviously put Standún's website details in the show notes there. Please go and check it out. And if you find yourself in Connemara this summer, do give us all a shout, because we would love to see you in the store. Ladies, Laura, Clíona, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.